What is going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and this is it. This is my spoiler-filled review of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So I have pushed this review off until now. It was originally scheduled for yesterday, but I figured I'd kind of take a day off in between. And yesterday I talked about The Mandalorian, the newest episode of that. So today I'm talking all about Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and all of its spoilers. So I'm just going to give this warning out. If you have not watched the movie, do not watch this video. Go and watch the film and then come back and watch this video later, and you'll see all of the reasons why I think this film is very disappointing. And if you have watched it and you have your own thoughts about this movie, you agree, you disagree with me, go over there in the chat and let's talk about it. Let's talk about all the things that you liked, and let's have a conversation. So I'm hoping that this can be a very productive stream. So yeah, I'm going to kind of jump right into it and talk about first my overall thoughts with the film. Now, I've seen the movie 3 times. I went on Thursday night, obviously opening night, 6 o'clock showing, which is the earliest showing at any theaters near me. I went Friday night with one of my friends, and we went and saw the movie. Clayton, shout out to Clayton. I know you're probably watching this after the fact. And then I went Saturday by myself again in the afternoon after I'd watched Bombshell, which my review will be up for later today. And so I've seen the movie 3 times in theaters. Now you might be asking yourself, well, Nick, why did you go see a movie 3 times in theaters if you don't really like it, if you were disappointed by it? Well, it's Star Wars, and the first time I went to go see it, obviously it's all about the spectacle. It's all about the oohs, the ahs, the actually being there as a Star Wars fan with other fans and getting to experience the movie for the first time. Friday was a different experience. That was me taking a friend it was his first time seeing the film. And that was a moment for me to kind of just understand my expectations, knowing what I did know from the film, and really kind of just going in more, I guess, looking at what I didn't like about the film, what didn't work for me, and seeing if the second time around maybe I got better perspective on it. Now, my thoughts aren't going to change and do a complete 180, but it was something that, to me, I always love doing that for like big movies like Star Wars or the MCU or even like It Chapter 2 or whatever, because these are big movies. These are movies that I've been anticipating all year long, and so if I can actually go and, number one, enjoy the experience, but number two, also go back to the theater and try to kind of pick it apart a little bit more, I do. And then I went on Saturday again because I figured it'll probably be until after Christmas when I go again to see the film, which I will be seeing it with my brother-in-law, who is a huge Star Wars fan, who has not seen the movie. I'm going to take him to go see it, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I just like being there with other Star Wars fans, and that really is kind of where I get a lot of my enjoyment. But let's talk about this movie. This movie to me is very disappointing. It's the most disappointing film of the year. I think this movie's frustrating in so many ways. I think that there was a lot of potential, but the movie just doesn't deliver on anything, and it doesn't remotely explain itself in any occasion. Now, again, you guys are probably going to have differing opinions of me, and I want that. I definitely want you guys to go over to that chat bar right there and let's discuss. Let's talk in detail about the things that we liked or maybe didn't like about this film, and we can compare notes, and maybe we can kind of help each other get a better perspective. Now, to say that this movie's as bad as the prequels, I'm not going to say that because it's not. I really like Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I love that movie. That to me is one of the best Star Wars films. I just get a lot out of it, and I have fun watching it. It's definitely one of the most entertaining Star Wars films. But Episodes 1 and 2 are worse than this film. I would rather watch this movie over Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace because those movies are very boring and it takes a while for them to really get going. But with that being said, the issue I have with this movie is that this movie, so many beats of the film are cool. They have really cool things in them, but they are so poorly executed that it leaves me wondering why Why did this happen? Why did we get to this point? Because there are moments of buildup and moments of true moments in this film, like the true coolness of the things that they're showing on screen, but the movie just overreaches and it oversteps in so many different areas, and it just never understands simplicity. It never understands the power of explanation. Sure, we don't want to get, force fed, but I mean, the movie does such a horrible job of explaining anything that it really feels like this movie has no established rules. You can go in doing whatever you want, thinking in whatever way that you want to think. And that's what I don't like about the film. Ultimately, and I even said this on Twitter, like, this film felt like it was written by someone who was theorizing on Reddit and just wanted to see all their theories come true, even if they don't make any sense. And that's really what this movie comes down to. J.J. Abrams, I think, really tried to do way too much, tried to throw everything including the kitchen sink at the wall, and it just didn't work. Because with a film like this, it could have worked in a context where we had other films, like maybe 2 or 3 more movies after this. Maybe if this movie was kind of like the middle film between episode 7 and episode 9. But because we got 2 films that are trying to both have setup, essentially, and they both kind of do their own things, J.J. Abrams, it feels like, kind of just took the things that he liked from The Force Awakens that he had imagined would kind of be the sequel to The Force Awakens. And that's really what you get here, because they really shuffle everything involving the Last Jedi under the rug. And it's so blatantly obvious that Disney did not have a freaking plan for this trilogy. They did not. There was no concrete structure, and that is the biggest issue. If you are making a franchise, if you have a trilogy of films in mind, you need to have a concrete plan. Where are we starting to where are we going? Not, we're going to have different directors. You can come in and do whatever you want. Oh, you want to change this about that character? That's fine. You want to change this about the rules? Oh, okay, whatever. That's the problem that I have with Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm. Get it freaking together. Like, don't understand something. The reason why the MCU is so successful and why they've been able to kind of craft this amazing franchise of films is because they have a structure. They have put things together, moving pieces in place over the years. That is why they're so dang successful. And to think that Star Wars has to kind of be a free-for-all is a joke to me. It's a joke. You could have done something so much more narratively structured and concrete that feels cohesive, as opposed to this jumbled mess of this sequel trilogy that we got. I mean, it boggles my mind that Disney, who owns Lucasfilm, would let this happen. That they wouldn't be like, hey, Kathleen, we love what you're doing, Kathy. You're doing a great job. JJ, you did a great job with Force Awakens. But how about we put a structure? Let's put a plan. What do we want to see happen with this trilogy of films? Not just, whatever. It's Star Wars. People are going to buy tickets and go see the movies. It doesn't matter what it is. And that's really what I felt like this entire sequel trilogy was. And a lot of the Disney movies have been, is that they know people are going to come and buy tickets to see these movies because we're Star Wars fans. We eat up this stuff. And it's kind of sad that they can't even give us a good product that feels cohesive and fluid throughout all 3 of these films. And that's the biggest issue I have with this movie in particular, because if you really kind of went in thinking, well, maybe Lucasfilm has kind of, written the ship a little bit better. Maybe they've kind of established an end game here. They haven't. They have not. And this movie is the best example of what Disney has done and Lucasfilm has done in preparation for this sequel, because they haven't really done a lot of it. Let's get to the spoiler stuff. I'm going to talk about this film being a disappointment. And, if you're someone who really loves this movie, power to you. I want you to like this movie more than me. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things in this movie that did not work. One of the biggest things, let me just get this out of the way. My favorite character in this sequel trilogy is Kylo Ren. Okay? I've loved I loved The Force Awakens. I love The Last Jedi. I love what they've done with his character arc in those movies. This movie does the thing that I knew was going to be a mistake if they did it, but I was like, okay, let's see how they execute it. And they executed it so freaking poorly. They redeemed Kylo Ren. Mistake. That is a mistake, okay? This is the guy responsible for killing Han Solo. You could say, well, he was conflicted with the light and the dark, even in The Last Jedi, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it feels like in this movie, he kind of just turns on a dime. Oh, Leia gets through to him somehow, and now he's just like, oh, okay, I gotta be the good guy. I gotta save Rey. I gotta step it up and be the person that my father always saw in me. BS. I do not buy into that crap. They executed it so poorly. It was a nice moment seeing Harrison Ford back, sure, but there was no emotional weight to it, honestly. I didn't feel anything because it felt like a rehash of episode 7, and it was, which I kind of like that they did that, but the issue that I have with it is the fact that he just kind of flips on a dime. There is none of this pulling from the dark. It's really just him kind of being like, oh, just for the sake of moving my arc along and really kind of finishing out my role in these films, I gotta turn. I gotta turn back to the light. It does not feel earned at all. There is no real payoff or real great execution with this, in my opinion, in my eyes. And I had said before this movie came out, I don't think that they should redeem Kylo Ren. I had a fear that they were going to do that because it's freaking Disney, and they need to make sure that, he kind of has the same type of arc as Darth Vader, even though they're two completely different characters. And so when it played out, I was like, okay, let's see what happens. And it happened, and I was not impressed. I really thought it was kind of just a cop-out. It was a way for them to kind of shoehorn something together to make it seem like all of a sudden he's been pulled to the light and he just absolutely knows what he needs to do. And I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. I thought Adam Driver's performance sold a lot of what Kylo Ren decides to do throughout the film, but I really did not like what they did with Kylo Ren's arc. I didn't like his character that much in this film, as much as I have in the past films. I really love Adam Driver. Again, the dude is a great actor, and he's going to be nominated for an Academy Award this year. But I just did not buy this whole thing that they were going for with his arc and the fact that he redeemed himself. Because he was irredeemable. When you kill Han Solo, one of the big three, you're irredeemable, in my opinion. So there's that. And then to top it all off, I was mad when they redeemed him, but I was like, you know what? This isn't the worst thing in the movie. And then they did the thing that is, I don't know if I can forgive them, honestly, for a while for it. They made Reylo happen. And oh my gosh. I remember in the theater when he brought Rey back, he force healed her, and he transferred some of the force energy, whatever he had left, to her. I looked right at my wife, and I literally told her, I was like, they're gonna kiss. They're gonna kiss. Please don't. Please. And I was thinking in my head, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. And then they did. And everyone cheered in the theater. Everyone was like, yeah, Reylo. And I'm just like, wow. This is bad. Wow. Number one, okay, all of the people on Reddit who wanted Reylo to happen, congratulations, you got your wish. It happened. I always thought that it was stupid. I thought that you cannot do romance in Star Wars unless you're going to have something as good, not even, it can never be as good as Han Solo and Leia, but kind of maybe halfway to, where Han and Leia were. And in these movies, I mean, Last Jedi, they swept everything under the rug, really. That's what it felt like. And Last Jedi was all about building the connection between Rey and Kylo. That was really the big, that was really the heart and the center of that film. And then when she sees Kylo go to the, he becomes prideful and he wants to become the supreme leader. She, decides to be at odds with him once again. And in this movie, they kind of, they just have them kiss. I bought it because the actors, I bought the actors actually kissing because they're good actors, but I was absolutely pissed. And I literally told my wife, I'm like, I'm not clapping for this. And I didn't. I did not want that at all. I thought it was a really, really stupid thing to do at the end. Again, this is why J.J. Abrams, this is why I think this movie should be called The Rise of Fan Service, because all he does in this movie is put in fan service. And fan service works to a degree, but when you're leaning on fan service as a whole and leaning on it to kind of be the bridge between the audience and our reaction to the film, I mean, that is where I have a problem. And this really felt like a movie to me that was a fan film. It was people on Reddit who had been complaining about Star Wars, and they decided to make a film that they wanted to see. They wanted to see the things that they thought could be cool, like Reylo happening, which it was not warranted. It always felt like she was going to be with Finn at the end of the day, and then she kisses Kylo. He smiles. I love Adam Driver's smile, I'll tell you that. I don't know, he's just so charming. There's something about him. But and then he dies. And I just cannot believe that it got the response that it did in the theater. I can't believe the fact that people actually liked that. I don't. So congrats to those people who really wanted Reylo to happen. It happened. And that was, to me, that was where I was pretty much just like done with the film. I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I don't care really about this movie. I was disappointed before all that, but this moment kind of topped it all off for me, where I was kind of just like, yeah, I'm pretty much ready for this movie to be over. Let's wrap it up. And I still literally cringe every time I've seen that scene where they kiss. I've cringed. I can't get past this idea, this mistake in my eyes, in my opinion, and it's never warranted. It doesn't feel earned at all, and it feels so. It just feels like it's in there just for the sake of it being in there to appease people, and I don't really like that. Give me something better. I mean, a hug would have been just fine, and maybe gotten the same message across. But a kiss, come on. What are you doing, JJ? I just don't understand it. So there's all that with Kylo that I just was not a big fan of. Sorry, guys. My phone is blowing up right now. Sorry. So I didn't like that. One of the things I was really looking forward to in this movie was the Emperor. I could not wait to see the Emperor in this film. I wanted to see what type of part he played in this movie. And I wanted to see kind of the way that they would make the Emperor feel like a threat, but not being the main threat, kind of just keeping it all on Kylo. Because my biggest issue with this sequel trilogy, with J.J. Abrams, is it always feels like he thinks Kylo is not enough. That it has to be a dynamic with Darth Vader and the Emperor. You have to have those two people, those two beings that are on the dark side, and it really feels like he tries to copy so much of the original trilogy and making it like the original trilogy in his own way. And that's my issue with the Emperor in this film, because everything that they try to do with the Emperor, to me, just felt weird, and it felt rushed, and it felt it felt very hokey. For example, and this is something that I talked about with a bunch of people in my social circle about this film. One of my biggest issues with the movie that is kind of a joke to me and very laughable is this whole idea that the Emperor can suck the Force out of people and it rejuvenates him back to being alive. Yeah, that was the most hokey and most ridiculous thing I've seen in a film in a while. And it really defies and breaks all of the established rules that we do know in the Star Wars lore. And to me, lore is important. People can say, well, it's canon now, it's part of lore, it's whatever. If the Emperor could do that, why didn't he do that before? Why didn't he do that with Luke? I mean, to me, it was so hokey. It was so over the top the way that they portrayed the Emperor, and they tried making him like a threat. But I never really felt like the stakes were high ever, and that's partially because Rey was so OP in this movie, and she could do things that were just absolutely ridiculous. That takes years of training, but because she's a Palpatine, she can do whatever the Emperor does, which I think is BS in my opinion. But that's the thing is like my issue is like if you bring the Emperor back, you got to make it convincing to why he's back. They never explain why he's there. They try to kind of do this hokey cult type of thing with him and his following, and nothing worked. And it felt so so ham-fisted. I wanted to love everything with the Emperor. I wanted to love this movie so much, but this movie just gave me so many moments of just absolute lunacy that it was so unbelievable to a point where it really took me out of the film. And especially with the Emperor and his character and everything that the characters were going through with the Emperor, and how there's so much convenience where things just fall into characters' laps. And again, the thing is, you have to be able to sell something to an audience without being too coincidental, without being too easy. And that's what I felt like this movie was, is it was so easy for characters to get information, to relay information. And I couldn't get past the fact that with this movie, there was so many moments in this film that I just kind of felt like, I don't want to say bored, but really uninterested, because I want more stakes. I want more tension. I want to feel like our heroes aren't going to succeed. But when you basically make it out like they're going to succeed from the beginning because of all of the things that these characters can do, that to me is just, it really kind of takes me out of the film. And I'm kind of just like, okay, I know exactly where this is going. And I did. I didn't know how hokey they were going to go with the Emperor, but it just didn't work for me. A lot of it was just really, really weird. And it was nice to see Ian McDiarmid play the Emperor again. It was nice to see him on the big screen, but I just kind of rather wish that he wasn't there. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that really hate me for saying that, but I wish that he wasn't there, or they would have done something different. I just don't like this idea of, well, the Emperor is there because he's there and he created all of this. And it's just, I couldn't get behind it. I can't get behind a lot of the things that this movie tried to sell to me, because it was just, it felt like this movie tried taking so many moments from Avengers Endgame and trying to be like, well, since Avengers Endgame did it, we do it too. So there's that. Rey being a Palpatine, I don't know. It bothered me, I think, a lot more the first time I watched it, just because I don't really care about who Rey is. All I need to know is that there's something different about her. You know, she can use the Force. She is very Force sensitive. She's a good person. That's all I really needed to know. Like, she was our hero. And we learned that she is the granddaughter of Palpatine, which a lot of people had predicted, myself included. I really thought that if they were going to go with lineage, it would be a Palpatine lineage. I didn't see, her being the illegitimate daughter of Leia and Han. I didn't see her being the daughter of Luke. I didn't see any of that. I really thought if they're really for sure going to go with parentage and like who's her family, there's only two ways that they could do that. It was either the Kenobis or the Palpatines. And to me, the Palpatines made more sense. I don't know. The more I've watched it, it doesn't bother me nearly as much. But I think that's just definitely a way to kind of have a cop-out of showing why she's so powerful, because she is a Palpatine. But, I mean, realistically, it doesn't really take anything away from the film or really add anything, because even if we didn't know that, nothing is really going to change. I mean, she has all of the Jedi in her, which that idea is kind of ridiculous to me. But again, there's a lot of things that this movie tries to sell to you that I just could not get on board with. And some of you guys probably could, and that's great. Again, I really hope you enjoyed the movie more than me. There's probably some of you that think this is one of the best Star Wars films ever, and that's awesome. I want that. For me, it just did not work, and that's all I'm trying to say and trying to get out there to you guys is that there are cool moments in the film, but they're not earned, and I feel like it's just very lazy the way that they're executed to where the writing is nonsensical. And I'm not going to hate on J.J. Abrams. I mean, this is nowhere near as bad as Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones, in my opinion. But I'm not going to hate on J.J. I just don't understand why they decided not to plan things out. Um, to me, that just didn't make a lot of sense from the beginning. And yeah, I just don't understand that, because if we had something that was planned out, these movies would definitely be different. They would feel cohesive and together as opposed to kind of being separate and standalones. I mean, this movie feels a lot like the sequel to The Force Awakens, but to me, it's just like JJ needs to do a better job of respecting what came beforehand. And I know a lot of people hate The Last Jedi, and I got into a debate with one of my friends about this because he does not like The Last Jedi. He's like, well, I like that they kind of, shied away from a lot of stuff in The Last Jedi. But my thing is like, even though there are people that don't like The Last Jedi, you have to understand there are people that love The Last Jedi. There are people that really like The Last Jedi. I like the movie. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's great. There's a lot of issues with it. But to me, if you are going to make a sequel to The Last Jedi, which was what J.J. Abrams was supposed to do, you have to respect what came before it. And he didn't. It just really felt like he wanted to just tell his episode 8 and episode 9 together and kind of merge it together. And that's why the pacing fell off. That's why there's heavy exposition dump in the beginning of the film, because it was trying to explain everything that has happened to, to these characters over the past however long it's been. And I get that, but at the same time, it really just kind of felt like JJ was trying to tell his trilogy as opposed to telling the final chapter of the Skywalker story, the Skywalker saga. And to think that this is the last movie of the episodic Skywalker saga, it's sad. But at the same time, like, I don't hate it. I don't think to me, it's the worst of the sequel trilogy, just because there is so many unanswered questions, and there's really just a lot of nostalgia and fan service that they use throughout the film that just, to me, does not work. Whereas The Last Jedi, there are things I don't like, but do some of those things actually kind of work? Yeah, they kind of do, and they explain certain things better than this movie did, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, it's all a matter of opinion. Agree with me or disagree with me. I mean, it's really, let's be let's be film fans together. Let's be Star Wars fans, because we all love Star Wars. We all are passionate about Star Wars. I think there's a lot of toxic fandom out there. If you don't buy into what I think, then you're not really a Star Wars fan, which to me is ridiculous. Just be a fan of something. I mean, being a fan of something doesn't mean that you love everything. Doesn't mean that, you necessarily only like certain films. Really, being a fan of something is being passionate about that thing and loving something. Like, the reason why this movie is the most disappointing of the year for me is because this was my number one most anticipated film of the year. It's Star Wars. And to me, Star Wars, I'm always going to treat it differently than It Chapter 2, which It Chapter 2 disappointed me, but not nearly on the same level, because I'm not so attached to the franchise, so attached to the lore, the characters, the setting, the fantasy of it. I'm not as attached to it. I don't really care as much about it as I do about Star Wars. And so to me, this movie just really felt like so ham-fisted. It felt like they were trying to do too many things at once, and none of those things really panned out. They did not work. And you can disagree with me or agree with me. That is totally up to you. It is your opinion. Like the movie if you want. If you want to, dislike the movie if you really dislike it. But just be genuine, be honest, and don't really be poisonous and toxic to other people. Respect what they feel and their opinions on this film. That's all I ask, is that you respect my opinion. Disagree with it all you want. That's fine. But just respect it and understand that, like, I've seen the movie 3 times. I don't hate it. I'm not saying it's the worst movie of the year. It's the worst Star Wars film ever. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, to me, it's disappointing. And disappointing doesn't mean hate. That's not what it means at all. It just means my expectations were here. The film only delivered here, and so there's a big gap there, and that's really what it comes down to. That's why I'm so disappointed, because I really wanted to love this film. There's so many other things that don't work for me. I don't like what they do. I like Finn a lot more in this movie because he actually has something to do as opposed to just kind of go to Canto Bite and go to like and do the worst things in the film in The Last Jedi. This movie, they definitely gave him more to do, but I don't like the idea that, oh, because Poe wants him to be a general, he's just a general. That came out of nowhere, and it was so ridiculous. The notion that this guy who's been fighting in the fight his entire life, even though he's friends with Finn, you don't make your friends generals to lead the entire rebellion cause just because he's your friend. I mean, that's not how it works. You have to get people that are experienced, that have, that understand ground tactics. They understand militant operation. And Finn, yes, he had been fighting with the resistance, but no, he's nowhere near being good enough to be a general. And so when he becomes a general, it's kind of just like, well, this movie really can do whatever it wants at this point. I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me if Jar Jar Binks turned out to be, the reincarnated emperor. I mean, at that point in time, like, this movie had kind of already lost me with the ridiculous things that it was trying to pull, that I was prepared for anything. That's really going to this movie, like, well, everyone has seen it. Hopefully everyone's seen it that's been watching this spoiler review. I'm sure you all have. But going into this movie, like, you almost have to kind of just put your guard down and put your walls down and realize that this movie has no rules. They can do whatever they want. It's a free establishment. And that's the issue I have with it, because I want there to feel like, there's a limit of things that they can do and things that they can kind of be up for, as opposed to what we get with this movie. Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I really was just disappointed by the notion of this movie can be whatever it wants to be, and it doesn't have to follow any strict rule or any kind of established world or lore or anything like that. And to me, it's just kind of a ridiculous notion. I didn't hate I didn't dislike everything about this film. There are things that I do like, but they're kind of few and far between. I mean, I'm trying to think of something that I actually liked in this movie, like genuinely thought was pretty good. I like the fact that Rose is more of a small character. I don't hate the character of Rose. I really don't, but I just never really felt like she fit. Last Jedi, they really tried making her something bigger and making her a character that was important, but I never really felt like she truly mattered. And so this movie, they do a really good job of making sure that she doesn't matter. And I kind of feel bad for saying that, but I think it's for the best that the character of Rose is a very small character that you kind of see in spurts and moments. She really got the Jar Jar treatment in this movie, I felt. So I do feel bad for Kelly Marie Tran, but she really got the Jar Jar Binks treatment of just kind of making small. I mean, she had more dialogue than Jar Jar Binks did in the final two movies of the prequel trilogy, but they really did not make her any type of presence in this film at all. And it's very apparent that J.J. Abrams had no plan to even include her in as one of like the main cast or supporting cast around Rey and Kylo. So yeah, I did like that. I really liked C-3PO in this film, which is kind of sad when I think about probably the best thing in this movie. It's C-3PO. He's the one. His arc actually worked for me, and except for the fact that I thought it was a very interesting concept, him kind of losing his memory, having it being wiped to try to get to be able to transfer the message of where the Wayfinder was, which another convenience in the film in the plot, but whatever. That's not that big of a deal, but I thought it was very interesting what they were going for, and then they brought his memory back, and it was kind of like, well, you had me and then you lost me when you had to bring his memory back. I mean, it would have been much more interesting if he kind of had his memory wiped for the rest of the film, having to relearn all those things that he had experienced over the years. And so that was something that I really liked C3PO a lot in this film. When he is the best part of the movie, it's not saying great things really about your Star Wars movie. And it's not only me who feels this. I have friends who have literally told me the same exact thing, that they felt like C3PO was genuinely the best part of the film. And it is something that is odd when C3PO, who I don't really like that much, is actually the best character in my opinion in this film. And you agree with his arc and you like where he's going more than other characters like Rey, like Kylo, like Poe and Finn. Yeah, that was something. The Luke stuff, Luke being a Force ghost stuff, I liked seeing him in it. I liked him being a Force ghost, kind of being like that Ben Kenobi figure to Rey, which was really nice to see. But I also felt like it was kind of forced, that he really didn't serve a single great purpose in the actual film. So it was kind of wasted a little bit in my eyes, but it wasn't terrible. I think that they did what they could with what they had. I think that JJ did the most of Luke and what his part or role could have been in this film. Again, I like the surprise of Harrison Ford coming back as Han Solo to be in Kylo Ren's mind, which was nice. I swear, if he was a Force ghost, though, I would have walked out. I'm not even kidding. I would have been like, I'm done with this. Luckily, they didn't go that way. They went that, he's in his mind. But that, to me, that stuff, again, the emotion wasn't there because I just didn't feel earned to me. But I did like seeing Harrison Ford back. I thought he did a fantastic job. And it was just a nice surprise. I'll say that. With what they could do with the character of Leia, I mean, it will never feel like she got a proper send-off. It would never feel that way. And so I respect JJ for what they had to do, but you could really tell that they were writing scenes around Leia and around certain lines of dialogue that she has, because it's very general in the way that it's written, to where like it could go a bunch of different ways of what she's talking about and what she's agreeing to. And that's the thing, is I understand wholeheartedly, like, you can't do anything about that because Carrie Fisher passed away. But it's almost like I feel like I wish that they didn't have her in the movie instead of trying to kind of shoehorn her in. It felt very odd to me, and you could really tell that it was stuff shot from The Force Awakens. So a lot of this movie just doesn't work for me, and that's okay. I could go into more detail. I mean, there's a lot of things that to me just made me roll my eyes, whether it's Chewie getting his medal, which, come on, JJ, did you really have to put that in there? I mean, let's get over that. That was 40 years ago. People complaining about Chewie not getting his medal. And that's the thing, is I really feel like JJ came up with a consensus in a way to try to make everyone happy and try to fix all the issues that people have been complaining about with Star Wars and things that shouldn't even be fixed, like Chewie getting his medal. I mean, to me, that's just ridiculous, and you don't have to go and do that. Like, just tell your story the way that you want to tell it. You don't need to try to go through and fix all of the mistakes that Star Wars has, because ultimately you're just trying to retcon so many different things, and it doesn't work. Your movie comes out to be too nostalgic and too servicey towards what fans desire and fans want. Tell the story that you want to tell, but do it in a way that doesn't feel like it complicates the story and convolutes the entire 3 acts of the film, because this movie's messy. It's messy. It's convoluted. There are moments that feel really long and boring and drawn out, and then there are moments that feel fast and vibrant and at a steady pace. I mean, this movie's all over the place with what it wants to do. It's very hard to even talk about the plot of this film because it's really spoiler territory, but because characters are just moving back and forth and there's so much of go and talk to this person to get this information, go to this planet to get more information on where to find the Wayfinder. All this stuff, it just complicates and convolutes your story to where this story could have been a lot simpler, and it's very hard to even talk about this film. If I was to give someone a sentence of what this film is about, I don't even know where to begin, because there's so much in this movie that they try to force, and it just doesn't work. And so that's the issue is I understand you have to try to find a way to conclude this story, and because both films were set up, you really have to try to do a lot in this final film to give it a proper conclusion, but you go way too overboard with giving us the conclusion of this story. Because again, things don't make sense, and you're just kind of left wondering, well, what would a Colin Trevorrow's film look like? I mean, it is what it is. We got what we got, and I can't complain. It was fun seeing a Star Wars movie in theaters. But even like the film itself, like there's a lot of action, sure, but the action never has emotion behind it. I mean, it's not like Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are fighting Darth Maul, and there's an emotion to it. There's a level of tension to that battle. In this movie, it just feels like it's all noise. That's really what it all is. It's just, let's have really awesome visuals. Let's have incredible battle sequences that people are going to be entertained by. And when you have just battle sequences for the sake of having battle sequences that have no emotion or no ties into tension or suspense or a feeling of disbelief, it really makes the film just white noise and a little bit boring in terms of the lightsaber battles and the battles in space. And it's not really till you get to that final act, that final 40 minutes of the movie, where the action doesn't feel so dull. It feels like it actually kind of means something. And so that's a redeeming moment in the action, but there's so much action in this where I just feel like it's dull and it's meaningless. I mean, Rey just fights Kylo because she wants to fight Kylo. And to me, that's just one of those things where it's like, I love the lightsaber battles. I love all of that stuff, but I don't like it to where it just feels like it's dull and just making the movie drag on, and it just keeps me uninvested and uninterested. I mean, even the lightsaber battle in Episode 3 between Obi-Wan and Anakin, there are a lot of lightsaber battles in that film, but that movie does a really good job of adding emotion, adding layers to those battles, adding something more than just people with, lightsabers showing off their cool lightsaber tricks. That's really what it felt like the movie was trying to do, and trying to give us action, but it had no emotion behind it. It's better to have emotional action than just having white noise action in any film, because emotional action will lead you to wanting to see what happens, and it's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. Whereas this is just kind of like, oh, that's cool to look at. That's fun. And that's it. And then it's over, and it just kind of it came and went. And to me, that's the biggest issue that this movie makes, and that's a critical error, is that, yes, there's a lot of action, and I can see why a lot of people would love, a lot of people love just nonsensical action. And if you're that type of person, that's great. I'm not that type of person. I like there to be emotion behind it, because then it makes the action more engaging, more enthralling. I'm more inclined to be on for the thrill. I'm ready for the thrill of the action. But with this movie, it just feels like there's some nonsensical action that they just throw in there just to throw in there to appease people and give people something to look at while they're watching the movie. I do like that they continued on with the kind of forced Skype connection between Kylo and Rey. I think that's a very interesting concept that they introduced in The Last Jedi that they bring back in this one, and they even add upon that a little bit more. But I always felt like when they were going to that particular moment, it always kind of felt like there wasn't as much interest between the characters as there was in The Last Jedi. It just almost felt like it was kind of like forcing the characters to kind of communicate with one another, and there wasn't nearly as much drama with them seeing each other in this forced Skype connection than there was in The Last Jedi. But I do like the fact that they brought it back. I like the fact that they have a lightsaber battle with that connection, which I thought was interesting. That was kind of cool to see, and it was unique. But again, it just didn't really feel like there was emotion. It just every time Kylo and Rey were on screen together, it just felt like Rey had to pull out her lightsaber and was like, I can beat you in a lightsaber battle. Let's go. And to me, it's just it becomes too much. Sorry guys, my phone's blowing up. Actually, today, for those of you who don't know, is my birthday, so I've been getting a lot of birthday messages and stuff. So, but I wanted to do a live stream with you guys. I wanted to spend my birthday talking about Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker with you guys. At least part of my birthday, not the entire thing. So that stuff to me, there are things that I like about the movie. Again, this movie is not trash. I'm not calling this the worst film of 2019. Nothing like that. It's nowhere near that. But to me, I just wanted more. I expect more out of Star Wars, and I just really felt like we got shortchanged here. They kind of just had to put something together. It felt so rushed, and it just kind of felt like they had to find some way to get to the conclusion that they want to get to and try to just have people fill in the gaps themselves, which I like movies to do that, but it needs to be executed in a way that makes me want to fill in the gaps. This movie doesn't make me want to fill in the gaps. That's the issue I have with it is I'm just like, why should I care? Why should I care about this? Because at the end of the day, I don't care that much. And again, my wife, after I watched this movie, she was like, "Oh, so you're upset, you're mad." I'm like, "I'm not mad. It's just a movie." I mean, at the end of the day, I still have Empire Strikes Back. We still have Return of the Jedi. We still have Revenge of the Sith. We still have Rogue One. I still have all this. I have the original Star Wars. I have all of the Star Wars movies that I still love. Nothing has changed about that. I just didn't like this movie, and that's fine. I'm still okay. The Mandalorian has been amazing. I've loved every episode pretty much except for one of The Mandalorian, so I can't complain too much. I think we've been getting very blessed lately with Star Wars content. And this is a movie that there are times where it's entertaining, and so it's fun to watch, but there are a lot of times that make me have my eyes roll in the back of my head because I don't buy into the crap that this movie was trying to sell me, essentially. So yeah, I want a little bit more. Lando, it was cool seeing him in there again, but really he kind of just presented more of the emotional monologue where it's like, well, we had each other and that's why we were able to succeed even with a small rebel force. And like, it was really cool seeing Billy D. Williams come back playing this character, this smooth talking, fun-loving character that, we all love from the original trilogy. It was fun seeing him in it again. But, I felt like he was a little bit wasted in the movie. I like seeing him in there, but he really didn't serve a lot of purpose to the story. I mean, anybody really could have. It was special to see him, piloting the Falcon with Chewie and being a part of the big battle sequence. That was nice. I really did like that. I like the fact that they included Wedge also in that little shot where he's like, "Good one, Lando. Good flying, Lando." That was really nice, bringing Wedge and Tilly's back. That was a really, really nice surprise that I did not expect. I remember in the theater when I watched that the first time, my wife turned to me and she goes, "Who was that?" I'm like, I don't dare say the name because she doesn't understand certain characters. I wasn't like, "Oh, that was Wedge." She wouldn't know who that is. I was like, "Oh, he was a rebel pilot back in the day, good friends with Luke." And she was like, "Oh, okay." She had no idea what I was talking about. But that was really nice to see. John Williams as a bartender. How about that? Was really, really cool. I like that little cameo. So there's really some nice cameos in this film. And it was really fun to see a lot of people coming back into their element again in Star Wars. But again, my issue is that, it's almost like you take them out of the film and nothing changes. Like Lando didn't need to pilot the Falcon. It was nice to see him piloting the Falcon with Chewie. I'm not going to lie. It was better him than someone else, but really anybody could have done that. And, that little monologue that he gives, I mean, anybody really could have given that, or there could have been something else. But I'm not going to complain too much because I'm just happy to see Lando back in Star Wars. I thought that was a lot of fun. Um, I again, guys, I don't hate this movie. I don't like it. I'm not a particular fan of this film, but I'm happy for those of you that it worked for, and it just was not for me. And that's fine. I like seeing the Ewoks in there. I like moments of the celebration. I think there were some moments that were just like, yeah, that's literally a ripoff of Return of the Jedi. And it makes me think, like, if JJ had the entire trilogy, how would it have panned out? Would it have been a little bit different? Would there have been more backstory behind a lot of the decisions that the characters make? It's quite possible, but at the end of the day, I respect JJ. I respect Lucasfilm for trying and for, at least giving us Star Wars content and bringing Star Wars back into the mainstream audience again. It is really nice to go to a movie, going to a Star Wars film. I mean, it's very special, and that's something that I'll never forget is the experience. And even though I didn't like this movie, just the experience of being there on opening night and seeing this film in theaters is just so amazing because this franchise means so much to me. I just absolutely love this franchise. And yeah, it's such an honor. And we live in such a great time where we get Avengers Endgame. We get, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, which, is ending a decades long, franchise of films. We're so privileged and we're so blessed. I'm grateful for it, and I'm grateful we still have the Mandalorian because we still have one more episode of that, and I've been really enjoying it. 51 minutes, holy crap, guys! I am sorry if I sound tired. I am. My wife and I, we are leaving for California. We're actually we're driving down to Utah tonight, staying with some friends, and then we will be in California tomorrow. We're flying to California, and so I'm a little bit tired. I've been preparing everything, packing, cleaning up the apartment, making it look good. And so I am a little bit tired. And I think I also might be coming down a little bit sick. I'm hoping not, but yeah, so I'm sorry if I sound kind of exhausted. I really am, but I am trying to put on a good face for you guys, and I'm trying to not be boring. And if I am, I'm sorry. But let me get to your guys' comments real quick. Underused locations and characters, there was so much potential. I agree with that. I think there was so much potential for these characters, and there was so much potential and potential arcs that they could have done with these characters that would have been fleshed out more. And I feel like if they had more time, they could have put in something different together, and maybe things wouldn't feel so rushed. But to me, I don't like the arcs that they completed with, Ben Solo or Kylo Ren, with, Rey. I feel like there's so much incomplete evidence and incomplete structures to their arcs that I don't get behind a lot of the decisions. And Kylo is my favorite thing about the sequel trilogy. I still really like him as a character. I didn't really like him that much in this film. Him coming back to being Ben Solo, to me, it felt too forced and too rushed, and it didn't work for me. Rey, I've never been like a big fan of her. I don't mind her in this movie. She's way overpowered. She's way OP, and not only that, you find out she is the granddaughter of the Emperor, and she defeats the Emperor at the end, and she says the exact same line as Iron Man, which I knew in the theater that she was going to say that, and I was like, well, J.J. Abrams definitely changed the ending, right? He definitely changed that. He definitely reshot the ending there, because when she says "I am all of the Jedi," it really, I was like, and I am Iron Man. That's really, it's so on the nose. It's so obvious. Whatever. I mean, oh gosh, JJ, come on, man, come on, don't be so lazy like that. Like, come up with your own thing. That's all I'm asking. Just come up with your own thing. Some new characters that were a main part of the advertisement had like 2 minutes of screen time. Yes, Kerry Russell's character, I heard that she was going to play a big part in this movie. No, she was really just a waste of screen time. I loved Bubba Frick. I love him. He's like one of my new favorite characters. I want his Funko Pop so bad. Everyone loves him. I really liked him. Dio the droid I thought worked pretty well. I really liked that droid, actually voiced by J.J. Abrams, which was kind of cool. I'm trying to think of all the other new characters. We had General Pride. I actually really liked his arc in the film. Actually, I really liked his character a lot. And I really like Richard Grant. I thought he played a very menacing character. Um, yeah, that was a very nice thing to see. Seeing a character that reminds you a lot of Grand Moff Tarkin. Obviously, he's not, but he was someone who had that relationship before with the Emperor, so that was kind of cool. How about one thing that I didn't mention that I never have liked the character of General Hux. He's the biggest wuss in the Star Wars films, in my opinion. Such a waste of potential with that character, and I really like Domhnall Gleeson as an actor. And how about this movie? He becomes a spy. What a throwaway thing. Just another plot convenience for the characters to get away. I just, and then he gets shot, and it's like, well, you were a waste of a character. And he really was. He was really a waste of a character. He brought nothing remarkable or nothing new to his arc, really. I mean, other than the fact that he was a spy only because he wants Kylo Ren to lose. I mean, it was just a throwaway thing. I just don't understand the entire point of having that happen. I mean, other than for the characters to have coincidence. But yeah, I mean, to me, I love Domhnall Gleeson, and the fact that they wasted his potential and they wasted him as an actor, and they wasted um, Gwendolyn Christie as Phasma. To me, it's kind of it's a nuisance in my opinion. Poe, I actually didn't mind Poe in this movie. I liked him a lot. I didn't understand the reason why he made Finn general. That makes zero sense to me, but I really liked him a lot in this movie. He learned a lot from his lessons from The Last Jedi. You could really tell that that's what they were going for. So I really liked Poe. I think Poe was probably my favorite of the main characters in this film. I think his story really matched up with where he was supposed to go in his trajectory moving forward. I like the dynamic and the relationship that he has with Rey, because there's like some sexual tension there, like some tension between them where, I think that both of them are attracted to one another, but they both get frustrated easily with one another because they're so identical. That was unique to me, and to see that. I felt like the movie tried doing too much of selling these new heroes and trying to give them the same type of relationship that Luke, Leia, and Han had, and it doesn't work. It's just with these characters, yes, they're significant, but it doesn't work because they're not those same characters. They don't have the same relationship, and especially Rey and Poe didn't have any relationship in the first two films. They were really just kind of like acquaintances, and so to me, and everything is so rushed, and it's like so much exposition that they try to make you feel a realness to this trio, but you don't really feel anything towards them. I mean, you have your own separate relationships with them. It never feels like they're really together, and that they have to be unified, and that the trio works. It just doesn't. It doesn't. How about the whole line that Finn's like, Rey, I've never told you, and then he never says anything. I mean, everyone knew what he was going to say, that he was going to confess his love to her, but honestly, though, it was just such a throwaway thing because they never even mentioned it again. Except for, what were you going to tell me? And then he's like, I'll tell you later. And Poe's like, are you going to tell her when Poe's not here? I don't know. There's moments that like the dialogue was just, it felt like it was written by a 10-year-old, that had no concept of phrasing and mature sentencing. I don't know. There's a lot that didn't work for me in this movie. And again, I agree with you, Numanoid. A lot of the characters that were part of the advertisement, main advertisement, they just either had no screen time, or you take them out of the movie, nothing changes, or they just didn't work, like the Emperor. Happy B-Day. Thank you so much, man. That means a lot to me. I don't want to make this about that because, again, for me, my birthday, why should I say again? I always say again, guys. I don't know why. For me, my birthday is just 1 year closer to the grave, but thank you. It means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. My buddy Tyler on Facebook, Tyler, what's going on, man? He said, sorry you were so disappointed. I thought it was a great Star Wars movie. By a landslide, the best of the new trilogy. I'm happy you enjoyed it, man. That's great. Tyler, if you're watching, I'm happy you enjoyed it, friend. I really am. I'm happy that you think it's the best of the trilogy. I think it's the worst of the new trilogy, but again, that's just a matter of opinion. And hopefully you were able to watch and understand why I didn't like this movie, what things didn't work, and what things I felt like were a misstep. It really comes down to I just really feel like this movie could have been a lot more. They could have done a lot better of a job in really flushing out these stories and making it feel cohesive, not just giving us fan service and nostalgia to chew on. But at the end of the day, again, it changes nothing from about my love for Star Wars. I have an infinite love for Star Wars. It is my favorite franchise of all time. It's the thing that got me into loving films. And so none of that changes. The movie, I didn't like it so much, and not going back and back and back and watching it and watching it and watching it, it's not going to change really heavily over time. It's one of those movies, I mean, I guess every time I've watched it, I found a little bit more enjoyment out of it, but it's still a movie that I just feel like missed the mark, and that's okay. That's fine. I still got Empire Strikes Back, still got Return of the Jedi, and all those Star Wars things that I love so much. So that's all that matters. Anyway, guys, I'm going to finish this spoiler review. I've been talking for an hour. I can feel my throat just being so dry right now. I have some things I got to get done before I leave here today. I have to shoot a couple videos before I go. I also still have to clean up a little bit of things because, again, I'm going to be picking up my wife within like the next hour. So I have a lot that I need to get done. But make sure you guys drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. It really means a lot showing your support. I try my best to make videos and content that you guys would enjoy, as well as just talking about things that I enjoy, like Star Wars. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel if you have not, because there's constant content being uploaded. I'm going to be having a new video up every day, at least for the next couple of days. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I have an unboxing video coming to you guys on Christmas that I'm pretty excited about, kind of showing off something that I got from my family for Christmas, which was very surprising. I have my bombshell review will be up later tonight. I know I said yesterday, but I kind of got busy again cleaning and things like that. When I'm settled down and when I'm in Utah, I'll get the video up, and then I'll also have my Star Wars ranking up tomorrow. So a lot to look forward to. I thank you guys so much for your support. I'm looking forward to 2020. We're not there yet, but there's a lot to really look forward to. Looking forward to this last episode of The Mandalorian. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cannot wait to see what happens. I will definitely be doing a review on that next week, or I guess the end of this week when it comes out, which is exciting. And that's basically like the last Star Wars video I'm going to make probably for a while. And then we're gonna kind of get back on track with new release stuff, talking about the Oscars. I mean, there's a lot to talk about and dissect with film right now. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna leave that with you. Again, if you like the movie, power to you. Tell me down below why you liked the movie, or why you didn't like the movie, what worked, what didn't work for you. And because it's a spoilers review, go ahead and talk spoilers, because it is a spoilers review and people have been warned. Thank you guys so much. And as always, may the Force be with you.